up, folks? Sean, the Average Angler. We've got a good video for you today. First of all, I'd like to say thanks for clicking on the video, watching my content. If you like it, please like, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Large percentage of you are not subscribed to the channel. Anyway, it helps the channel. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments, leave them below. We're going to talk about really how to become a better fisherman. Some of these are just things that have made me a better fisherman, and I can see marked improvement from learning these techniques. Now, I've got 4 techniques. Some of them you may be well versed in already. Maybe some of them you haven't. I don't know, but let's go over them. Now, we're going to start with a big one here right off the bang, because this one is coming into that time of year. You know, it's effective all year, but it's a great search bait to show us what lives in the area. And that is none other than a glide bait. Okay, and I've got an assortment of them here to show you, and I'll kind of give you some general ideas about them. This is a Deps slide swimmer. You'll notice, or maybe you didn't, this is not the big giant one. This is a 170, okay? So 7 inches, it's much more, 175, sorry. It is much more manageable. This one's 2.5 ounces, also more reasonably priced. This is a really good one. This is a Ratt Sneeky Pete. These are the most affordable of the bunch that I have pulled out. I believe all of these are at or below $100. The Sneeky Pete, I believe, is somewhere between 40 and 50. I will put a link in the description. The Sneeky Pete is a very, very good glide bait. And one thing unique about the Sneeky Pete is it runs very well in current. So if you're in a river system, a delta, something tidal where you have current, the Sneeky Pete was made to run in current and still work and glide like it was designed for. You can search Ratt baits on YouTube or Sneeky Pete, and you will see them fishing on the Sacramento River and catching some giant striped bass, okay? Striped bass. Go look them up. Watch it if you're interested in the Sneeky Pete. It is also Steve Kennedy's favorite glide bait. You'll see Steve Kennedy when he's throwing a glide bait. Most of the time on the elites, he's throwing a Sneeky Pete. This is another one that does really, really well in that glide without breaking the bank, is a Gancraft jointed claw. It's been around for a long time. Great bait, swims similar to a S-Waver, except it's a Japanese-made bait. It swims better, the paint jobs are better, costs more too. Those are about $70, I think. Next on the list of glide baits, and this one I really like. I bought a ton of these when they came out, and it is the Baitsanity Chimura shad. This is more of a chopping style bait, although it will also S-swim, if you will, but really meant more to be a chop style. Okay, that's the hitch, bone. These come with the case, so it's kind of nice to get a case with them because the hooks grab everything. They're big, they're sharp, but a glide bait is great for, if you don't get bit, it's still really good to show us fish, okay? It will pull fish from a long ways away, and they'll show themselves, and then you know they're there, and maybe you go back and find another technique to catch them with. But it will show you what lives in the area. With that, I will say drawing power is oftentimes dictated by size. So the big 255s tend to have more drawing power. The 7-inch still has drawing power. If you use bright, bold colors, they will still have that effect of drawing power. Oh, and here's the real benefit is actually learning the bait, and catching fish on the bait can be phenomenal throughout the pre-spawn through the post-spawn, okay? Those big females, just like when they're staging and getting ready to come up, they don't want a lot of meals, they want a big meal. Same thing in the post-spawn. And they tend to sit in places that are really hard to target with other baits. High in the water column, but not at the surface. They don't want to top water. So you got this glide bait coming by a foot under the surface. It's kind of in their wheelhouse of where they're hanging out. All right, next we're going to go into a jig. This is a California Res Lures 1/2 ounce Johnny C jig. This one you'll see is pretty cut up if you look at the skirt. Okay, I do that in the winter time. It kind of helps them puff a little bit better on a silicone skirt, just makes it a little bit more compact looking. Easy meal for the fish. The reason I say you need to learn to fish a jig, it's a bottom bouncing bait. If you'll see here, I've chipped some paint off. I fish a lot of rocks with this. The other thing I use a jig for is finding rocks. You find isolated rock piles or rock patches of hard bottom, you just found yourself a place where bass like to live. Bass love hard bottom, okay? It's just a proven fact, doesn't matter, fish love hard bottom. The jig gets us in touch from our hands to the bottom. So we can learn a lot by fishing a jig. The bottom composition, where it changes, whether it's from pea gravel to bigger rock to mud, we can learn these things fishing a jig. This translates over to every other bottom bouncing bait we fish, right down to a drop shot, because your drop shot weight is still dragging through the same stuff. Bass still live in the same areas no matter what technique you're fishing. So it just clues us in that we're in the right spot. How many times have you been fishing a bait and you pull it up to something and you feel a rock and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get bit now? Well, that's why. Another benefit of the jig is it tends to catch bigger than average fish. And in the time we're coming up to winter towards pre-spawn, again, those females need high protein meal. Well, a crawdad is high protein. It's a natural draw for them to eat a jig, which mimics a crawdad, which in turn is going to translate to our other bottom bouncing techniques and help us learn and get a better feel, so it improves a vast array of our fishing technique. Moving on from there, one that might be somewhat forgotten, but it shouldn't be because I've been talking about it a lot lately, a crankbait. The crankbaits. Crankbaits in today's day and age are talked about very, very little. If you've been watching my channel, you will see I'm out catching fish on crankbaits. Okay, here's an I'm a Pin Jack. I talked about this one a while back. This is a great small profile crankbait. There you'll see that you can speed crank. It does not blow out. You cover a ton of water, and for some reason the fish really come unglued on this. Okay, the Rapala DT, what do I have here? 10. Okay, great winter bait. Same reason. Okay, we're gonna cover water. There's a lot of crankbaits. This is a, well, I should know this. This is a bait I've been fishing a long, long time. Anyway, there's a shad pattern. All kinds of different patterns in crankbaits. I typically fish a shad or a craw. Keep it pretty simple. If you get muddy water, you might want to venture into chartreuse blue, chartreuse black. The other color I really like, if you've been watching my videos, I won't make you go back and watch them, I'll tell you, is the ghost green craw, or for that matter, any ghost type color when the water's clear. Crankbaits, again, elicit reaction strikes. It's a great way to cover water. So a reaction strike is basically taking a fish that is not necessarily in the feeding mode and getting them to react. Okay, that bait's coming by them and they don't have a lot of time to think about it. It's either do I eat it or don't I? Again, tends to get bigger than average fish. Covers water, helps us learn where fish are located, and then maybe we fish the area with some other baits to try and catch more, bigger, smaller, whatever fish. But it's a great way to cover water, get strikes, and learn where they are located. Fourth and final technique, and look, I'm going to do some more videos on each individual technique as we go to help you guys learn a little bit more about each technique. Today is the one about techniques we all need to be proficient at, in my mind. Final is a chatterbait. As the fish begin to visit staging areas, coming up, not quite yet. I'm a little premature on this one, But this isn't a winter video. It's a 4 baits we need to learn. The chatterbait is good for such a large portion of the year. It creates the reaction strike. It helps us, allows us to cover a lot of water in doing so. There's no doubt about the number of large fish that the chatterbait has caught since its inception, and it's crazy, and it's still catching them. I don't know that it's even slowed down since the chatterbait's inception. It probably has, but I think as I've gotten better and better with it, the amount of fish I'm catching on it continues to increase. Where I find them, the number I'm catching, the adding different colors into my arsenal. I used to just throw green, pumpkin, black, and blue. This last year I really got into throwing a white one and growing confidence with that, and it really paid off. The chatterbait is a great way to locate fish. The chatterbait is a great way to catch fish, and you may not need to put it down. There are a lot of times where all you need to do is pick up and cover water with your chatterbait. The jackhammer and the Evo, as far as I'm concerned, are the 2 industry standards. The only other one I really use much anymore is the 1st gen Copperhead. I'll link them all in the description. I like that just because it's unique. It has a unique sound with the copper BBs in it that the blade hits, so it gets a different sound than the Evo or the jackhammer. And now they have the tungsten, which I'm assuming also has a little different sound because that blade's hitting the head. You can fish a chatterbait in a lot of areas, and this is where it varies from a crankbait. A crankbait you can fish through wood. You can generally walk a crankbait through wood, but it's not good in grass. Well, guess where a chatterbait shines? In and around grass, right? The chatterbait rips free. You snag a chatterbait on wood, you have to go get it or it's gone. Much more difficult to walk a chatterbait through wood. We have multiple ways here to locate bigger fish. And part of the reason for me wanting to do this now is to get everybody prepared for the upcoming season that we're coming into. And maybe 4 of these is a lot to learn at a time. So maybe you pick 1, maybe you pick 2, maybe you're well versed in 3 of the 4. That makes picking 1 easy. I encourage you to learn a new technique. These 4 are great ones. A crankbait is really underutilized these days with forward-facing sonar and people getting really tunnel vision and seeing only the minnow. I've been spending a lot of time with the crankbait lately, been doing very well with it. It's always done very well. It hasn't stopped, and I'm fishing the bank. Look, you can get square bills. You got, if you just picked 1, I like that 10-foot range, okay? And even in clearer water, a lot of times that 10-foot range is a safety zone for the fish. Not saying don't go deeper, I'm just saying 8 to 10 foot, really good depth, even on spotted bass fisheries like Lake Shasta, Oroville. It's great at Clear Lake. The crankbait's just a great way to cover and elicit strikes, as is the other ones that I suggested here, okay? Sean the Average Angler, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.